37-year-old Andrea Knabel lived in Louisville, Kentucky. The single mother of 2 boys was having a difficult time in the summer of 2019. She was a graduate of the University of Louisville and had been working as an analyst for Humana, an insurance company, but had recently been laid off. Her car had also recently been totaled in a hit-and-run accident. Around 1 a.m. on August 13, 2019, Andrea left her sister's home in the Audubon Park area of Louisville. She was apparently upset at the time due to a family argument. Between 1:30 and 2 a.m., she made several phone calls, trying to find a ride. She was seen walking in the 4000 block of Fincastle Road a short time later. She has not been seen or heard from since, and her cell phone has not been active. There were several security cameras in place in the area where she was last seen, but many of them were found to be out of order when they were checked as part of the investigation into Andrea's disappearance. Andrea's family has been dedicated to the search for her, putting up flyers and going door to door, looking for potential witnesses. In addition to her family's efforts, a massive volunteer effort has been made in Andrea's case, in part due to her own efforts to help locate missing individuals. Andrea was a member of Missing in America, an organization of volunteers that helps look for individuals who have gone missing. She was an active participant in a search in Ohio just 5 months before she herself went missing. According to Nancy Schaefer-Smith, the founder of Missing in America, Andrea is the first member of the organization to go missing. Other volunteers from the group have traveled to Kentucky from all across the United States to help in the efforts to find Andrea. In addition to Andrea's fellow volunteers from Missing in America, volunteers from the Louisville community have also participated in several organized searches for her. There have been several reported sightings of her in the greater Louisville area that have caused the locations of these searches to shift. The most recent of these potential sightings, as of the making of this video, came on October 1st, 2019, when police in Clarksville, Indiana, just across the Ohio River from Louisville, announced that there had been an unconfirmed sighting of Andrea in their town. This sighting, along with all the other potential sightings of Andrea since August 13th, has not been confirmed. Due to Andrea's work with Missing in America, her family does not believe that she would willingly disappear. She was aware of how much heartache it would cause her loved ones, and of how much effort volunteers would put into looking for her. Furthermore, they argue that she could not stand to be away from her sons for this length of time. The search effort for Andrea remains active, but her disappearance remains unsolved. Michael McClain grew up in Stamford, Connecticut, and graduated from Stamford High School in 2008. Around 2012, he moved to Manchester, New Hampshire, to attend Hesser College. He graduated with a degree in criminal justice and decided to remain in New Hampshire. In 2019, the 29-year-old was living in Manchester and working for Easter Seals, a nonprofit organization. On Saturday, April 20th, Michael went out to the Tropical Lounge, a nightclub in Nashua, New Hampshire, with 2 of his friends. In the early morning hours of April 21st, 2 women got into a verbal altercation inside of the club. The situation escalated after the 2 women went outside of the club at closing time. Michael stepped in to try to break up the altercation. Michael was not directly involved in the disagreement, but he had tried to break up a fight he witnessed at least once before. According to his family, this kind of behavior was very much in line with Michael's good-natured personality. Michael did appear to at least know one of the women involved in the altercation, and had danced with her earlier in the evening. Due to the altercation, the police were called to the club's parking lot. When they arrived, the crowd scattered. At this point, Michael was separated from his friends. They looked for Michael for 45 minutes. Michael did not answer their phone calls, and his car was still parked on Orange Street, less than a mile from the club, where he had left it earlier in the evening. Michael's friends then left to return to Manchester without him. Michael's best friend and roommate, Ben Harris, was not at the apartment he shared with Michael that weekend. He had gone to Boston to celebrate Easter with his family. He therefore was not there to notice that Michael never arrived home after his night out. He did notice when Michael never came home Sunday night. Michael's family took notice when he did not return phone calls from his mother and grandmother on Easter Sunday. His job took notice on Monday morning, when the usually dependable Michael did not show up for work. He was reported missing to the police on Monday, April 22nd. There has been no activity on his social media or financial accounts since he went missing. According to police, Michael left the club at approximately 1:45 a.m. At 1:49 a.m., Mike placed a phone call to his boss, during which he told her, "They're after me, more than one." It would not have been unusual for Michael to call his boss if he were in trouble. He had a good relationship with her, and had called her before in situations where he needed a ride or was having trouble with his car. The call disconnected after 2 minutes. Michael's boss immediately tried calling him back, but Michael did not answer. She sent him texts at 1:54 and 2:18, but he did not respond to either of them. She made one more attempt to call him at 2:25, but he again did not answer the phone. While Michael was not replying to his boss, his phone was sending out texts during this time. He sent a series of texts to one of his neighbors, but not all of them make sense. Michael's father believes that it is possible that at least some of these texts were the result of the text-to-speech function on Michael's phone, meaning that Michael did not mean to send the texts, but his phone transcribed words or sounds it recorded him saying. Eldridge is the name of a small side street not far from the Tropical Lounge that Michael may have run down while trying to get away from the individuals who were chasing him, but by the time he sent the text referencing it, he would most likely not have been near that street, because other evidence places him at a different location. The last text message Michael received on his phone came in at 2:27 a.m., and the phone was last pinged at 2:30 a.m. At this time, the phone was at a McDonald's on East Hollis Street, less than half a mile down the street from the Tropical Lounge. The police were able to confirm that Michael was actually at the restaurant through witness statements from McDonald's employees and an acquaintance of Michael's who saw him there. Police could not track Michael's movements using his phone past 2:30 a.m., most likely because his battery had died. Surveillance footage next shows Michael at a Speedway gas station further down East Hollis Street. Inside the gas station, Michael asked if he could use their phone. It is unclear if he actually made a call there. Michael's father went to speak with the employee who had been working at the gas station that night, but he was not able to follow basic conversation or provide coherent answers to questions. Mr. McClain believed the employee had some sort of substance abuse problem. The last known footage of Michael was taken at 3:30 a.m. Michael was picked up by multiple cameras at the residences at Riverfront Landing, a new condo complex on Bancroft Street, a side street off of East Hollis, further east from the Speedway and the McDonald's. The last time Michael is seen on video, he was exiting the complex. Michael being there confirms that he was continuing to head east on Hollis Street. It is unclear why Michael went off the main road and into the condo complex. If he had stayed on Hollis, he would have had to go over a bridge, but the bridge did have a sidewalk and lighting, so he could have done so. Michael's father believes that his son may have walked into the complex to try to trick someone following him into thinking that he lived in the complex and was going inside his residence. The Nashua police claim that no one was following Michael that night, but his parents are not fully convinced of this. The fact that Michael told his boss that he was being chased right after leaving the club seems to indicate that he ran into trouble there. An ex-boyfriend of the woman Michael had been dancing with had reportedly been at the Tropical Lounge that night, providing a potential motive for someone to go after Michael. Given the fact that Michael was last seen on surveillance footage near a river, there is a possibility that he accidentally fell into the water, but this seems unlikely. There were multiple obstacles between where Michael was last seen and the river, including a dry well and a wooded area. Furthermore, Michael would have had to go up a grassy hill, slick from recent rain, in order to go towards the water. From there is a section of river rock, and then a section of small boulders that Michael would have had to get over in order to get into the water. It is unclear exactly why Michael kept walking east on Hollis Street. Hollis is a main street and was relatively well lit, so if Michael was being followed, it would make sense for him to stay on that street. He may also have gone into the McDonald's because it was one of the few places in the neighborhood that was open 24 hours, and he felt safe waiting out the individuals who were following him there. It is unclear why he did not call his friends to come meet him, and why he continued east when his phone died and he needed to make a call. My personal theory is that Michael mistakenly believed that he was walking back to his car, even though in reality he was walking away from it. To get from where Michael parked his car on Orange Street to the Tropical Lounge, he had to cross a bridge over the Nashua River. Michael was not familiar with Nashua and had not spent a lot of time there. I believe it is possible that Michael may have asked someone on the street, or at the McDonald's, or in the Speedway, for directions on how to get to the bridge, not knowing that there was more than one bridge nearby. This theoretical person may have told Michael to keep going east on Hollis, where there was another bridge going over the Merrimack River, assuming that this was the bridge Michael was asking about. It was near this bridge that Michael was last seen on surveillance footage. No one has ever come forward saying that they had such a conversation with Michael. This is purely a theory on my part. I believe it explains why Michael was not trying to get a hold of the friends he had been at the club with while he still had power on his phone. He believed that he was close to his vehicle, which meant that he believed he was close to safety and his means to get home. While this theory may explain some of Michael's behavior during the early morning hours of Easter Sunday, 2019, it does not explain what happened to him after he walked out of the condo complex on Bancroft Street. That mystery still remains, despite the best efforts of Michael's dedicated family. "70-year-old Jean Johnson lived in a remote area of Capitan, New Mexico. The grandmother of two had moved there from Ruidoso, New Mexico, where the rest of her family lived, around the time her husband passed away. She wore some of her late husband's ashes around her neck in a clear pendant, and still wore her wedding band in 2019, even though her husband had passed away almost 8 years prior. She resisted her daughter Heidi's attempts to get her to start dating again. Jean and Heidi were very close, and normally spoke on the phone at least 3 times a day. On Sunday, May 26, 2019, Jean sent Heidi a picture of a dog she was taking care of for a friend. This would be the last communication Heidi received from her mother. Heidi had a busy workday on Monday the 27th, so she did not get a chance to try to call her mother until the early evening. Jean did not answer. Heidi tried calling again on Tuesday, but Jean still did not pick up the phone, which was unusual. Heidi was becoming concerned, and these concerns were validated shortly after her Tuesday call to her mother, when she received a phone call from the friend Jean had been dog-sitting for. Jean and her friend had planned for Jean to drop the dog off at the friend's house on Monday, the day they returned from their trip. Jean had not shown up to bring back the dog. Heidi drove half an hour to her mother's home. The gate at the beginning of the long driveway was locked, and Jean's car was in the driveway. Her cell phone and purse were locked inside of it. The one real sign of trouble was the fact that the front door of the house was slightly open. The dog Jean had been watching was still inside the house. It had several accidents in the house, indicating that it had not been let outside in some time. According to Heidi, Jean loved this dog and would not have left it on its own for such a long time, willingly. Only one item in Jean's home seemed out of place. It was initially believed that Jean's .357 pistol was missing because it was not in her hope chest, where it was normally kept. However, it was found inside of a pouch on top of a pile of laundry. Jean had packed up the laundry to take it to Heidi's house that week. According to Heidi, Jean did not use the pistol recreationally and only had it for protection. She would only have taken it out if she thought there was a mountain lion too close to her property, or if someone had shown up at her house and she had reason to fear them. Police searched Jean's 10-acre property with the aid of helicopters, drones, and tracking dogs. They found nothing and had to expand their search area. Still, they found no sign of Jean. Heidi has organized several of her own searches, with volunteers on ATVs and horseback, covering large tracts of remote land. Desperate for any possible leads, Heidi has also consulted several psychics for help. They have all told her that her mother is no longer alive. Despite the lack of new information in her mother's case, Heidi continues her efforts to find her. Her next large-scale search for Jean is scheduled for October 26th.